Hi, everybody. My name is Nicholas PHAN, and I'm the Artistic Director of Collaborative Arts Institute of Chicago. And welcome to I think this is our 5th episode of Heard Over the Piano in our 2nd season here. Heard Over the Piano is CAIC's online video discussion series about all things art song. We are actually pre-recording today due to the fact that the world is returning to a somewhat normal schedule and everybody is a little bit busy. And so it was tough to coordinate some time. And so today we're pre-recording. And so if you have questions, please email them to us or put them in the comments and we will ask them of our artists at a later date and get them back to you. Also, if you have any ideas about future guests you'd like to see on the show or any feedback in general, please put it in the comments. And thanks for tuning in. Today, we are featuring 2 guest artists who are going to be on our upcoming March 4th Leader Lounge, which by the time of this airing will have been past us. The Leader Lounge is going to broadcast on March 18th, and so this is a chance to get to know them before that online broadcast in case you weren't able to attend the performance at the Richard H. Driehaus Museum. Our 2 artists today are contralto Sara Couden and composer Jonathan Woody. If you guys will join me, we can have a conversation. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
I'm okay. Yeah.
It's like everybody's hanging in at these times, right? It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So, Sara, let's start with you. This is your first time with CAIC. I'm just going to read a little bit of your bio. I probably should have done this before I welcome you to the screen. But Sara, in case you don't know Sara already, is a recent graduate of the Lindemann Young Artist Program at the Metropolitan Opera. And also you studied at the Yale School of Music, is that correct? And the San Francisco Conservatory?
Yeah.
And she sings all over the place in places like Winter Opera St. Louis, Ars Minerva in San Francisco, Philharmonia Baroque Orchestra, Staunton Music Festival, Philly Orchestra, Marlborough Music Festival, Music at Menlo, to name just a few. So, Sara, you came to us with this very cool program. Why don't you tell us about it?
Okay. So the program is I started out being really intrigued by the context of the Brahms Viola Songs. The first one was written, they were both written for Joachim and Amelie Joachim. They're 2 really great friends of Brahms and a sort of celebrity couple in their day, in a way, in the classical music sector, I guess. And they had this like breakup where Joachim accused Amelie of having an affair with his music publisher, and Brahms wrote the Gestillte Sehnsucht in order to bring them back together through music, which didn't work. They didn't actually divorce, but they did separate. The other viola song is the Geistliches Wiegenlied, which was written a long time before the birth of Amelie and Joachim's son. So they're both songs that were written for the Joachims at different points in their relationship. And to me, it's super interesting because the songs seem like they're any chamber music sort of has inherent in it this drive to be together, right? To make music together and to do something together, and a relationship that is cohesive. But the songs are actually about, or the first song, is actually about this couple splitting up. And the attempt of music to bring them back together that doesn't work out. And so I found that very interesting and very sort of compelling and strange. And the second part of the story is that at Marlborough, I worked on a piece by Peter Eben with Kim Kashkashian that is a duet for alto and viola. And it's It's called the Loveless Songs, and it's a these duets are talking about poems about breaking up, about relationships dissolving, and I was thinking, like, trying to find sort of like material that kind of goes between those two and reflects on both of those things, and sort of the Joachim relationship and um, the way that relationships kind of dissolve. And so I kind of came up with a couple of pieces to address that. The other side of this, which relates more to Jonathan, is that the second song of the Brahms songs is it's Mary, the Virgin, I mean Mother Mary, having a kind of a really hard time because her child is suffering and the palm trees won't shut up. And to me, that energy is sort of again, like, not what you would expect, right? Like from a lullaby, that this woman is not celebrating how content she is to be a mother, but rather how freaked out she is about her child and her child's trajectory in the world. And that, to me, brings to mind the Purcell Blessed Virgin's expostulation, which is also sort of Mary freaking out both about Jesus being gone to the temple as a child and about his place in the world and how difficult it is. And so I asked Jonathan to set the piece for the trio as opposed to the original, which is a Baroque ensemble. And he's amazing, and it's going to be incredible. Okay, that's all. Yeah.
Yeah, great. I think it's a brilliant program. I've been so excited about this since you brought it to us.
I'm really excited to do it. Thank you so much.
That's perfect introduction, Jonathan. Welcome. So, Jonathan, I know you as a singer, but you're also a composer. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that journey and kind of, tell us a bit about yourself and tell us a bit about kind of how composition has entered your life as well?
Sure. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Yes. Good morning. Yeah, that's right. I studied voice in school. I went to University of Maryland for undergrad and McGill University for master's, and really went into a track of being a singer, and particularly kind of focusing on the ensemble singing track that has emerged over the last few years. But throughout that whole time, I've also been a composer. I actually started composing when I was still a high schooler. And it just took a while for me, I think, to really work up the confidence, the nerve to show my pieces to other people. But once that started to happen, the ball just kind of got rolling. I had a group that I sang with a few years back called Trident Ensemble, which was an all-men's a cappella ensemble. And we put together our own programs. So for each of our concerts, I would write a piece for us to sing. And that really actually gave me the kind of fire to keep going with composing, because it was really satisfying to get to write something for people whose voices I already knew, colleagues, friends. And that's a lot of what I do as composer still. In this case, Sara and I, we've known each other for several years now and performed together lots of times. And I absolutely love her singing and artistry. I just think she's one of the most incredible contraltos that anyone has ever heard. So when she said, come in and write a piece for me or rework a piece for me, I was really, really happy to do that. So yeah, that's my story in a nutshell. And to talk a little bit about the piece, I was really intrigued by what Sara said about the connection between the Brahms song and the Purcell, and Mary's character in both of those pieces, as you said, being sort of atypical of what you would think of for an expectant mother, particularly a mother, as the Purcell references, who was visited in a dream by an angel, to tell her that she's going to basically give birth to the savior of the world. You'd think, oh, well, that's so wonderful. And then, in the Bible, you have the Magnificat, which is Mary's song of praise. But then this is a kind of a different take on it. And it's a little darker. It's a little bit more of the conflict of those emotions. And that's also maybe closer to real life. I mean, I think you know, lots of folks who go through pregnancy and childbirth, you know, it's not always perfect. It's, you know, there's a lot of complicated set feelings and emotions. And I think those are captured really, really well in the personal song and then also in the Brahms song. And so I was kind of trying to find the sweet spot where those two come together.
Yeah, there's this sort of when we experience these stories through a church setting, you sort of, I mean, obviously it's a sort of divine story. So you receive this sort of sanitized, like very clean cut narrative that kind of makes everything seem so inevitable and so easy as it unfolded. But actually life is messy and humanity and human experience is messy. And so of course there's like more darkness and more complex things going on with the experiences of that. It's amazing that you're having this opportunity to humanize that in the way that the Brahms song does.
Yeah, I just wanted to so my story, my Jonathan story, in this particular reference is the last time we were together in person was at the Stanton Music Festival, and he sang. I don't know what the title is. It was a Crumb folk song. There is a house in New Orleans.
The House of the Rising Sun.
Yeah, and it was like it was like everything about him turned into this person, this character who was singing this song, and his voice sounded different, like just as beautiful as it always does, but like, you know, just different. There was like, it was so haunting and so just amazing and special. And I felt like, you know, if he can sing that, then his head, you know, is clearly in this place where he can bring, you know, the Virgin Mary, you know, to us in a way that I feel like will be really, really special. And anyway, yeah.
Amazing. So actually, let's back up a little bit. I probably should have asked this first, but I was so excited about asking about the program. Sara, tell us a little bit about your journey. You know, you're having this amazing career where you're doing all sorts of things. I mean, you are working at the Metropolitan Opera, you're doing all of these amazing Baroque operas and in various forms in various places. You're doing chamber music. You know, it's pretty wide ranging, and that's amazing. Are you loving that? And how did you kind of get into all of these various tracks?
Yeah, I really do appreciate the opportunity to do different kinds of music. Like it's so exciting to be able to just I love to do that sort of intricate work of trying to learn a more modern piece, and I also really enjoy the you know, the Baroque, the whole Baroque experience of the period instruments and the way that those harmonies work, and the rhythm of it, and the experience of singing in front of an orchestra is so different to that of being in an opera. But it, you know, it all sort of informs how you are as a musician, and what you can do in terms of bringing the music to the audience. And so I'm just really, really grateful that I get to do these different things in these different ways so that I can become a better vessel or whatever for the music. You know what I mean? And that sounds so like airy fairy, but like just like you want to develop your skills, and to have the opportunity to do it in all these different ways means that you're getting, you know, like an octopus, like there's outreach that you, and then you bring things back in from different places, and it's great. It's so great. Yeah,
totally. I mean, diversity of experience means a much more rich personal but also artistic existence, and as an artist you're only going to be able to share what you have, and so if you have more,
right,
that's great.
Yeah.
Did you always have an interest in song, or were you interested in opera, or were you interested in choral singing? Like, what happened? Like, how did you even get started doing all this?
It was just sort of just whatever, you know. I'm not sure how most people's careers develop, but I'm always just like, oh yeah, I can do that. Like somebody says, can you do it? I was like, yes, let's do it. Like I'll figure out the details later. I'm gonna do this. and so that you know, whatever my voice suggests to other people, I'm happy to do. And I guess that meant that I got to do art song as well as opera, because there's a, you know, so much wonderful art song for low female voices, basically. And it's great that I can do that, you know. And then same thing with oratorio, and there's a lot of really excellent, beautiful music for low female voice. So yeah, I don't know if I really had a dream for what my career would be, but this is definitely a great way for it to be working out. Yes. Yeah.
How about you, Jonathan? I mean, did you always imagine your life as it is now? Or, I mean...
You know, it's really interesting. I think from the time I was a kid, I always knew that music was really going to be central in my life. I'm not sure that I knew it was going to be my profession. I grew up, singing in church like a lot of folks do, and so it was just always part of what I did. But when I finished high school, I kind of realized, oh, I've spent more time on music than anything else. So I guess I should probably keep going. And then, when I was in undergrad, I think there was a lot of pressure to kind of take the opera direction, and that just never quite felt right for me. I do like performing in operas. I really like acting, actually, and but definitely kind of going into the world of like 19th century opera just didn't feel like it was quite the right fit. And I had sort of teachers who said, "Oh, well, that's the only choice you have," And I don't like being told that I only have one choice. I'm a Libra, so so I kind of was like, no, I'm gonna find a different way, and that led to kind of finding this pathway through choral music, ensemble music, early music, also new music. All those worlds kind of have these overlaps, and that was really where I felt at home as an artist, but also where I found a community of fellow artists and friends, and that's really what has sustained me, so far in this field, is those relationships and getting to do the projects and pieces that really matter to me. Early music has really always been the thing that touched me the closest. My favorite composers are Handel and Thomas Tallis, and so I'm always kind of in pursuit of interesting ways of thinking about early music, particularly making it relevant to the world we live in today. I think the barrier sometimes is, oh, well, why do we care about what these people were doing 300 years ago? And it's like, the world is very different now, but there's a lot that their artistry actually has to say about the human experience, and we're still living in those experiences today. So, I try to find that intersection, and I think my composition also lives in that space, of kind of taking influences from historical styles and making them a little more modern, whether that's dealing with certain subject matter that they didn't touch back then, or whether that's, in the case of this piece, kind of taking two different compositional voices and merging them together in a way that may or may not be successful. We'll find out in a couple of weeks.
It looks like it's going to be succtional to me.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
But yeah, that's I think, it at the end of the day, it's about relationships for me. It's about colleagues. It's about storytelling, and I feel like music and song, vocal music and song in particular, have such wonderful opportunities for storytelling and for really deep, personal kind of truth telling, and that's one of the biggest things that attracts me to this art form.
So can I ask, I know you do a lot of ensemble singing, and you sing in operas, and you do a lot of new music, and you do a lot of oratorio soloing, because I've heard you do that many times. So do you perform recitals at all, or do you ever do art song stuff?
I wouldn't say that it's been my focus, but increasingly it is starting to happen. I do have a couple of recitals on the calendar coming up this season, and that's fun and interesting. It's definitely, it is a little new. Of course, I studied a lot of these songs in school, But I kind of left them just because, I think for those who really want to do that repertoire, you have to really build the career track for yourself. You know, I wouldn't say that there are as many established recital pathways for young singers. So you really have to be dedicated to it. And because I was so interested in early music and ensemble, I kind of went in that direction. But that being said, yeah, I'm looking forward now to being a little bit more vocally developed and able to kind of tackle some of these songs that did feel beyond my reach when I was a younger singer, and they're starting to feel a little bit better. So that's kind of exciting. Yeah.
Amazing. And so, Sarah, the way you described your life story, it was kind of like Just Say Yes, the Sara Couden story, like, but so now here you are in the driver's seat getting to kind of, you've come up with this program and you're promoting it. And, how does that feel? Is that a different experience for you? Did you feel like you needed to wait for this moment to kind of allow that to happen, or?
Yes, I definitely had the same experience as what it sounds like Jonathan had, where in undergrad, you listen to the art songs and you're like, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous, it's amazing, and then you try to sing it and you're like, Morgan future son of Peter shiny, it's like, oh my god, like what am I doing? So yes, I finally feel like I have enough control over my voice to be able to actually make these lines and do these, dynamics and really paint the text in the way that I want to, and we're still getting there, but it's definitely, it's so much better than it was, that I do feel more ready to present this repertoire than I was, a year ago, 5 years ago, definitely in undergrad. That song is particularly, it's like, it's such a gorgeous song. It's so beautiful. You listen to the recording and then you cry and then you try to sing it yourself and it just, is horrifying. So I'm very, very, very glad that I'm finally able to sing things like Clara Schumann a little bit more with more ease and more meaning,
It's funny. And this I feel like this repertoire, because we encounter it so much in school, and partly it's because when we're learning how to sing, it's written for voice and piano, so it's pretty practical in that sense. And it's like it's a great place to learn how to sing, but actually, like, song, to do it really well, requires super sophisticated finesse and also artistic depth. You need to have had that experience of having your octopus moment and then bringing that all back in to enrich your little brain so that it's bigger and you have more to say. And it's I always think it's kind of funny that because people, as Jonathan said, in schools often push this sort of opera track, and the opera track is really wonderful and great, and it teaches you very valuable skills, but also so does this, and you have to kind of remain committed to it, and that commitment to it takes a little bit of, I don't know, a certain autonomy, right, and a certain sort of self.
Well, I feel like you're like the perfect example of somebody who really like stuck with art song and made it happen for yourself, and like that, that's intensely admirable. Like to do something that you love and just keep doing it and figuring out how to do it and make it happen.
Well, thanks. I mean, my whole experience with it, I think I've said this on the show a bunch of times, so sorry, listeners. But when I was at Marlborough those 4 summers back like 2007 to 10, that really kind of changed things for me, because I had been on a really sort of straightforward opera track, and I was not very happy. I mean, I was feeling pretty unfulfilled in certain ways, and being at Marlborough really turned that around for me. It really showed me how much I love this repertoire. The repertoire has taught me so much about singing. I'm such a better singer when I go back to the opera stuff and when I do stuff with a full orchestra. It's given me technical skills and artistic skills that serve me in all realms. And I was in the case of CAIC, I was just very lucky in that I had two friends and colleagues who really care about this repertoire and also wanted to continue to build a place for it to shine and to give it a platform. So I'm really grateful to Shannon and the other Nick, who Shannon's gonna be on this concert, and you'll meet the other Nick at the concert, for their commitment to and help kind of putting this together, and the fact that we've just sort of all been on basically the same page. So, I mean, again, it's also about, like Jonathan said, relationships, and like you said, like luck. You know, I was just offered an opportunity. I said yes, I went there, and then I was like, oh, cool, I like this. This is great. So it's similar. I mean, is this your first time kind of building a program and trying to get it on its feet by yourself?
Yeah, I've definitely done like sort of other programs in like, but it's definitely been like, come friends and family, see me perform this thing that I have put together, or that me and my friend have put together, or you know, I did recitals with Emma McNary, with my friend Argento Walther, and with my friend Kyle Stiegel, but it was all very like, we're doing this in a church that I grew up in, you know, and it was wonderful. It was so wonderful. I had such a great time, but this is definitely a bigger deal, you know, and I'm a little bit, I'm nervous, but hopefully it'll be, you know, amazing.
Don't be nervous. It's going to be fantastic. It's. I think that's the commitment too that people don't often realize. It's like when, like, again, like Jonathan, you were saying, you need to kind of like really remain committed to it, and you know, I think that's the way you can really. People should remain committed to it. It's like you have to start somewhere. When I think some singers think like, oh, I'm going to be committed to it, so I'm going to go get my Carnegie Hall recital debut, and you know, like, no, you got to like build things, keep building things, and like, you know, if you build it, they will come and it will grow. Like it's
right.
And so, Jonathan, for you, in terms of, you said it was a challenge promoting your, like, kind of feeling the confidence to promote your music at first as a composer. I mean, what has that journey been like, and how are you feeling about it now? I mean, you've been commissioned by Handel and Haydn, and you know, other organizations you work with, and now we're very lucky to have this piece on our series.
Yeah. Well, you know, part of it, I think, is the sort of the experience of being a student in a classical music conservatory or school of music, and the pedestal on which great composers of the past are sometimes placed. I know that well, yeah, maybe often, maybe all the time. I know that, like, for me, I have a very specific memory. I'll tell you a little story. I was an undergrad, and I was maybe a freshman or a sophomore, and had my little group of singer friends, and we were in a practice room just fooling around and singing through things. And we had sung through some of the Samuel Barber, the Hermit songs.
Yeah.
And I was really inspired by them, you know, and I went home and I wrote this really, like, quite obvious knockoff of one of Samuel Barber's songs. And then I brought it back in with my friends, you know, no teachers or anything, just friends. And we sang through it. And one of my friends just kind of burst into laughter. And she was kind of like, well, you can't just do that. It's like, you can't just write that. And I don't know, there was something, I mean, I know she was just joking around with me, but there was something that kind of made me feel like, oh, I can't just put up something that I've done and put it at the same level as one of these, you know, great composers of the past. Now, I don't think that piece I wrote when I was 19 was any good or anything, but I do think that that kind of mentality may have stopped me from having enough boldness to say, like, hey, I wrote this and I actually think, you know, it's worth putting out into the universe and having somebody sing it or play it. And just that little bit of feedback of kind of doing something where the stakes didn't feel too high, but getting positive feedback from it. That was really what I needed, to, I guess, undo that instance of kind of negative feedback from years and years ago. So, you know, from there, it was a lot easier from there it was like, okay, I don't actually even necessarily need approval from other people. Like now that I believe in myself, now that I actually believe that what I want to say with music is worth hearing, at least to the people who want to hear it, and if people don't want to hear it or they don't like it, they can find something else that they like. And that's fine. That's fine too. But yeah, so I think that's, and that's probably, I think, a journey that a lot of composers go through, just a feeling of, and in fact, some of our favorite composers from previous centuries, I mean, we know from their writings that they compared themselves, to the ones that they considered to be the greats of the past, and were so hard on themselves in terms of what they would publish, what they would release, because it's like, well, if it's not going to be Beethoven, I can't release it, and I'm feeling the same way. Like if it's not going to be Samuel Barber, I can't release it, so I think that narrative, we all have to kind of work through it and work it out a little bit. We're all just people, and we have something to say, and for those of us lucky enough to have music as an expressive tool, I don't think that the music of one person, the music of some other person, in a global sense, have a different value or a different worth. I think everybody has something to say, no matter what their kind of expressive form is. So
beautifully put.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what you guys have coming up after this. Sarah, what do you have coming up after you're with us in Chicago?
Yeah, I'm gonna be going to New York to understudy the First Maid in Electra, and at that it'll be from March to the end of April, and during that time, I'm gonna do a recording of Schnabel songs. Schnabel, yes, with Jenny Lin, and I'm excited about that. Yes, yeah.
Great, that sounds exciting. Can't wait to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And Jonathan,
we'll have to hang out in New York a little bit.
Yeah.
I have a couple of things coming up that I'm really excited about. I'm gonna go to Portland, Oregon, at the end of March. I've been serving as an artistic advisor for the Portland Baroque Orchestra for this past year. So, Nick, I think following a little bit in your footsteps in terms of being an artist who also gets to kind of influence and maybe put together programming and shape the direction of how some of these organizations go. And so we're going to do a program of early German Baroque cantatas, cantatas from Bach's youth, from when he was in his 20s, and then from some of the contemporaries who were older when he was around that age. So from right around the turn of the 18th century. And then as soon as that's done, I'll jet back to New York and sing Jesus in the St. Matthew Passion with Trinity Wall Street and St. Thomas. We're going to combine to do a St. Matthew with two Baroque orchestras, with Trinity Baroque Orchestra and New York Baroque Incorporated, doing the double choir and double orchestra. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's so fun. Oh, wow.
That's going to be so cool.
Yeah.
And those you're singing Jesus, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that music is so beautiful. That flow of strings. Oh, it's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
Exciting.
So fingers crossed that we all stay COVID safe and all these things go according to plan.
Yes. Fingers crossed, and toi for all of these amazing projects. You guys have so much amazing, exciting stuff coming up. Okay, so I always end these with two questions that I ask everybody. So the first one, and you'll both have to answer, sorry guys. The first one is, what do you see as the future of the vocal recital? And then the second question is, why do you think song is important? Who would like to go first? Don't all jump at once.
Sure, I'll jump in. What do I see as the future of the vocal recital? One thing I think I would like to see is kind of an expansion of what are considered the maybe appropriate presentations of vocal art, which is to say, I think we're all very familiar with a concert hall, a recital hall. But I would love to see vocal art, whether that's songs or choirs or other types of things, presented in places and spaces where folks maybe don't expect it. You know, in New York, just as a tiny little example, in New York, there's this subway performance series where you're walking through the subway and you see performers, you know, and they're amplified because it's loud down there. But, you know, and I'm not saying that that's maybe the ideal version, but just that idea that you could take art and art song out of the concert hall, out of the recital hall, and bring it to people who might not ever set foot in a recital hall. I would love to see that. Oh, and then what was the second part of the question?
Why do you think song is important?
Why do you think song is important? I think going back to what I said a little bit before about human storytelling, and sharing our experiences, our pain, our joy, and doing it in a way that can sometimes touch people differently than words or than, you know, other forms of the arts. I think music is really deep and visceral, and the human voice is so intimate. You know, everybody sort of grows up knowing the voice of their mother, the voice of their father, the voice of the closest people to them. And there's something about voices, I think, that's really special for people. So yeah, I think song will always be part of our life because the voice is so deeply linked to who we are as people.
Sarah?
Yes, the future of the song recital. I feel what Jonathan was saying, but sort of in a different direction. I want to see and feel like it will be expanding to have a looser or a more expanded definition of the canon. I know that there's so much, you know, most musicians that I know love classical music. They also love jazz. They love, you know, pop. You know, I have a friend who recently introduced me to some death metal during Semele, and I want to see us channeling those other genres into classical singing, because I feel like it just, I don't know. I think I feel like that because it's something that I'm passionate about, you know, that I love listening to that music and I want to perform it. And I don't think that there's a huge difference between Anne Peebles' I Can't Stand the Rain and, you know, the Abendstern, the Clara Schumann that I'm performing. I mean, in terms of their artistry and their beauty and what they have to say. Yes, okay. And then in terms of why song is important, that's a question, right? I mean, Jonathan's answer is obviously beautiful and gorgeous. The only thing that I would add is that every avenue through which we can reach each other, I think, is important. And song is one of the great ways of doing that, you know. So yes. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Especially in these divided and increasingly polarized times, it's so important to be able to find things that connect us, and song is, as you said, both say, an ideal way. Well, so we're recording this today in the end of February, just to like basically a week and some change before the actual recital on March 4th. And we're really excited about that. It's going to be amazing. Toi, toi, toi to both of you for it. But for the audience watching, you all can tune in on March 18th at 7 p.m. Central Time on our Facebook Live and our YouTube channels, and as well as our website. And the recital will remain on demand for a week, so through March 24th. I can't thank you guys enough for taking the time to chat with us today about song, your lives, help us get to know you a little bit better, and also kind of, you know, learn a little bit more about the thinking and preparation and creation, in this instance, of this amazing program that is going to happen soon. We're so grateful. CAIC audience, we will do another one of these sometime soon. And please tune in on March 18th. We'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.